here with our two variables. So let me close this up, create a new one. Let's call this 02 variables, and let's just create another underscore, let another one const. Okay, .js. So let's go back into HTML, comment, copy this, comment the first one out, and actually I'm going to just go in here, replace this with variable let and const. So this JavaScript is now loaded within our web page. Okay, as I said, let and const replace var, and let and const have overall browser support, so you don't have to worry about, hey, is this supported by the new browser? Yes, it is. Let and const are supported for a couple of years back, dating back, and they are a part of ES6. So when ES6 appeared, they said, okay, this var, this isn't working. Let's create two new types. So a var, which is a variable called let, and a variable called const, which is actually a constant. And we will see what's the difference between the two of them. So let's start with, type in here comment let capital. Okay, so first of all, let's type in another comment, let, this is the way we define let, and it's since ES6, and it is a block level scope. So let's type in block level scope. So what does block level mean actually? A block level is a chunk of code bounded by two curly braces. Variables declared in a block with let are only available for use within that block. So let's type in here another comment. So these are curly braces and this is the block. Okay, so everything that is declared within the block is only block level scope. Okay, now let's create our first variable using let. We declare it by just typing in let and then giving it a name. So I would just use the same example. So let name and the string of, I'm going to actually type in two strings, Norbert Meinhardt, and I forgot the T there. Now let's console log this, console log name. Let's hit save, and as you can see, we have now Norbert Meinhardt within here. So just like var, a variable declared with let can be updated within its scope. But unlike var, a variable declared with let cannot be redeclared outside its scope. So let's just create another variable called let greeting. And let's assign this a value. So first of all, this equal sign, this means assigning something a value. It doesn't mean it equals to. And we'll talk about this a bit later on. For example, this means equal to its type, and this means equals to type and value. So we will talk about this later on, but just so you know, equals means we are assigning it a value. So let's assign this a value of a string of I am outside the block. Okay, now let's create a if statement. So if I also need another variable, so another let called number equals 4, let's say. Let's close it up, and let's say if number is greater than 5, then greeting is equal to another string of I am in the block. And I'm going to use now a else statement. Else, actually I can just leave it as it is because I already have this statement right here. Okay, now let's console log again greeting. So let's type in console log greeting. Now let's see what happens. I am outside the block until now because the number is less than 5. So let's go with 6. Now I am inside the block. So what would happen if I would declare, so I would cut this out. Actually, let me just copy it, comment it out, and copy it in here. And as you can see, greeting is not defined because greeting was defined up here in a global scope, and we're defining it in a block scope. It cannot find greeting outside its scope. So let me take this console log and copy it in here, and let's see what now happens. I am in the block, okay, because it was redefined. Even if we take the number and change it to 4, and now it actually disappears because the statement is not met and it doesn't know what to do. So what would happen if I would take here a else, and within parentheses I would take this, copy it in here, and actually we don't need this, and I'll take the console log and put it outside the block. Now let's see what happens. I am in the block, but as you can see, greeting, this let greeting, is undefined within here. That is why it's a blue-gray. Okay, let's continue on. Let's type in here comment of redeclaring variables, and we're going to focus on let. Actually, let me comment out everything that we did until now. Okay, so we're going to get rid of that, and now let's just create a let with block. Now I'm going to assign this a value of hi. Now I'm going to use a if statement with a boolean. So booleans are true and false. So if this is true, then let block equal to, or assign it the value of hi, I am in a different block. Now let's console log this. Let's console log block. If I would take this console log and copy it outside, now comment it out, as you can see, it takes in this value. Now let's give another example. Let's say let greeting, assign it the value of, say, hi. Now let's redefine it, greeting and let's say hello instead, or just hello. Let's leave it at hello. And now let's create a number. So let number is equal to 2. Assign the value of 2. Let's create an if statement, and let's say number, if number greater than 3, then let hello be the string of I am in the block. Now let's console log this. So first of all, I'm going to console log greeting. Okay, let's see what happens. So this is, where do I have it? So just console log greeting, and let me just comment this out. As you can see, nothing happens because it's outside of the block. Now let's console log hello. Hello. Well, I actually have to change the number here. So let me comment this out. So now that the number is true, greeting is logged within here, say hello. If I would take this out, then the first value would be true. If I want to redefine it or reassign it a value, I would just copy it. Then I would just comment this one in. As you can see, say hello instead. Now, if I would console log hello, then I am in the block. And let's create an else statement. Type in here else. And now let's console log another string of my value has changed. Okay, now let's change the number to 2, so this will not be true. And now let's see what happens. Now the console log gives us the string of my value has changed. And this is a perfect illustration how a block level scope works. Now I'm going to just very quickly talk about hoisting. So just like var, let decorations are hoisted to the top. So let's try this out. If I would declare now a variable called name and just console log it, what do you think will happen? We now get again the value of undefined. So I could now take the name and give it a value. Let's say Norbert. As you can see, let pretty much works like var. Now let's talk about const. And actually let me put in a comment. So this is the end of let, and now we're going to take a look at const. Let's go to the top here. So const is also like let since ES6. Const is also block scoped. Variable declared with the const maintain constant value. It cannot be updated or redeclared. And that's just going to give a simple example of, let's say, const, and let me actually comment out this. I will leave the name as it is. First name. Now let's give this a string of Norbert. Norbert. Now let's console log first name. And let's see what happens. So we get the value Norbert. But if I would now take the first name and try to change its value to Laura, you can see I will get an error, type error, assignment to the constant variable. So constants cannot be reassigned or redeclared. Even if I would try to redeclare it, so const first name, let me actually comment this one also, and also comment this one also, and see it's working. Let me change it to Laura. Okay, so there we have it, Laura. If I would now try to redeclare it, so first name is equal to Norbert, it will prompt it with an error. Identifier first name has already been declared. This is why const is so useful. If we want something to have a constant value and it should not be redeclared, it should not be reassigned, then we will use const. If we want to declare something that's going to change, to mutate within our code, then we would use let. Although we cannot redeclare and reassign it, we can do something else. So let's say, let's just create here, actually I'm going to go underneath our console log and comment this one out. So this const of first name. Now let's create a const and let's just type in here name. Now I'm going to assign it the key value pair of first name and with the value of Norbert, and then actually uses comma and last name, and this should be then Meinhardt, and let's also give it an age of 35, let's say. Now let's close it up. So if I would now console log the name, let's see what happens. Now we'll get an object which will have first name, last name, and age. You see here also age 45, first name Norbert, last name Meinhardt. So what we can do now is now take this const name and now say dot first name, and now give it a new value of Laura. You can see the name, the first name within the name object changes to Laura. I can do the same thing for the last name. So name dot last name is equal to something, and now the last name has changed, and also name dot age is equal to 18, and now the age has also changed. Now for example, if I would have a const with numbers and I would assign them an array numbers, I'm missing here n, so const numbers, and let's use an array of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now if I would like to change something here, so let's first of all console log numbers. Okay, so I get this array. If I would like to change something for this variable, for this constant, I could not just take number dot 1 and change something with it because it's already in there. But what I can do is type in, for example, push, and I'm going to push to this, let's say the number 6. Now if I would, I forgot to type in an S there. And now if we console log numbers, you can see that the number 6 was added to this array. We'll talk about arrays a bit later on, but just wanted to give you an example of how we can not redefine but add values or change values from a constant. Now for the hoisting part, just like let, const declarations are also hoisted to the top, but are not initialized. So if I would do, let's say const, let's type in here just an age and leave it as it is, and now console log age. Let's see what happens. Missing initializer in const declaration. So we cannot initialize const, only let and var. So in conclusion, var declarations are globally scoped or function scoped, while let and const are block scoped. Var variables can be updated and redeclared within its scope. Let variables can be updated but not redeclared, and const variables cannot be neither updated or redeclared. They are all hoisted to the top of their scope, but while var variables and let are initialized with it undefined, const variables are not initialized. So while var and let can be declared without being initialized, const must be initialized during the declaration. Okay guys, so that's pretty much it about var, let, and const. See you in the next one. Bye bye.